Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're gonna be trying out some new drugstore makeup today. I went to my drugstore yesterday. I actually went in with the intention of picking up a new tube of the Sky High mascara because mine's officially kind of run out. But as things go, started browsing and I ended up coming home with some makeup and forgot to even pick up the Sky High mascara. So that would make a video of it today. I did notice that they had the Bear With Me, the new serum concealer that I've had my eye on for a while wanting to try. So we're gonna try that out today. I also have a new lipstick here from Milani and then a few products from Hard Candy that I thought looked pretty interesting. So we are going to put it all on today. I will be doing a wear test with this makeup today. It is currently 9:30 in the morning. So yeah, we have got a lot to get into, but before we do, special welcome to my new visitors. Thank you for joining me today. Hope that you enjoy this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Also make sure your notification bell is turned on. But now let's jump right into the makeup. All right, so as I mentioned, I did pick up the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. I've been wanting to try this for a while. I ended up going with the shade 03 Vanilla. I'm hoping this is a good shade match for me. I love the packaging of this. It does have a pump. Hopefully the pump works well. I have issues with pumps sometimes, usually not on the first time I try them, but like after a couple of months, sometimes pumps can give me trouble. So I'm hoping this one doesn't do that. But I am really excited to give this a try today. I also picked up a lipstick from Milani. I'm sure you guys have seen these lipsticks. But I've been meaning to try one out for a while and I finally got my hands on one. So we're gonna try this out. This one I got is in the shade Lingerie, hopefully a nice pretty pink. I did pick up a new old blush from Wet n Wild in their newer packaging. I say newer, but this packaging's been around for a while. They used to have the square packaging. I decluttered all of those blushes, even though I did really like them, but they were all broken. I didn't reach for them very often, but more than anything, I'm just really curious about this new packaging. Feels a little bit more high quality for Wet n Wild. I do like the Wet n Wild blushes, at least the old ones in the square packaging. I think this is the same formula. This one is in the shade Mellow Wine, which I did remember liking a lot. Then I got some stuff from Hard Candy. You guys know how much I love my Hard Candy Plumping Serum lip balms. I own like, honestly, I probably have about 5 or 6 of those floating around throughout my house, car, purse. But they had some newer things in their section that looked interesting to me, including a brow pencil. It says it's waterproof, long wearing. We're gonna try this out. I got the shade Blonde. I'm very curious about Hard Candy's brow pencil. And then they had some eyeshadows. I've never tried out a Hard Candy eyeshadow before. I honestly have never been that interested in trying them out, but they had these little quads that looked really cute to me. They have cute little packaging, really good color stories. And the thing that they actually had like 6 or 7 different color themes. I ended up picking up 4 of them. They were $3.97 a piece, so pretty affordable, but they're not very large. I'm curious to see how these compare to my beloved Wet n Wild color icon palettes. But a couple things based on first glance that really caught my eye with these. The color stories are really well done. Like you get a good mix from light to dark. You get a good range of like shimmers and mattes, what the shimmers are and what the mattes are. Sometimes I feel like companies get that wrong. Like they'll put their darkest shade as a shimmer, and I always think that's like the wrong way to do things. I always want my darkest shade personally to be a matte, and that's how they did it with all of these little palettes. There's some really pretty shimmery, kind of sparkly, even some duochromes in these. So we'll of course go through those all today. We're gonna be creating a makeup look, obviously, and we'll kind of decide as we go along. I'll of course do some swatches for you guys. So let's jump right into it. I do already have my foundation and primer on. So today I used my Maybelline 4-in-1 primer, and then for my foundation, I tried to go kind of light on the foundation because I really want to give this concealer like a good test. So I just applied a little bit of the Age Perfect Serum Foundation from L'Oreal, and that's as far as I got. So let's jump straight in with the concealer. So Bear With Me Concealer from NYX. This thing was about $10, $10.97 to be exact. So a little bit pricey for a concealer. I don't know. Is that pricey? I kind of feel like anything around that $10 mark at the drugstore still makes me uncomfortable. I feel like I'll never get over that, even though that seems to be kind of the norm rather than the exception, but I have heard great things about this. So let's give this one a try. Let me just give it a little pump on the back of my hand just to check out how this shade is gonna be for me. I didn't want to pick up 2 because it was a little on the pricey side. Okay, I feel like this will be good, like a good general shade. It's not so dark that it's not going to work on my under eye area, but it doesn't look like it's so light. I know that does look kind of light because it's a little reflective with the natural light going on right now, but I think this will probably work. Let's just jump right in and give it a try. So I'm just going to kind of tap this. Let's start off here on my under eye. I do want to use this as an eye primer today. See how this works as an eye primer. I'm finding these days, you guys, I go for my concealer as my eye primer probably 75% of the time, unless I'm really doing like a real fancy or like a smoky eye look, just because it's easier. And I feel like my skin, as it's gotten drier, I don't have the issues with creasing that I used to have. So generally speaking, I think concealers can work pretty well for me. By the way, this is just my BH Cosmetic sponge that I used to apply my foundation this morning. Okay, this is feeling lovely. It also has a really very faint but pleasant scent. So I'm just, again, going with what I swatched on the back of my hand. We're just gonna apply a little bit under my nose. I actually do have quite a bit to cover today, besides my just normal hyperpigmentation marks. I have some issues going on my face. I've got this little, told you guys about this little self-inflicted, like, I don't know that I'd call it a zit. It basically is like a little whitehead that I made scar, and now it's kind of like in that weird place where it's kind of between my lip and my skin below. So it's like in no man's land where it's kind of odd. I can't cover it with concealer quite, but I also can't really cover it up with my lipstick or lip liner. I also have a couple of spots. I have one little spot right here. Actually a couple right here around my nose. We went camping last weekend and for 2 nights. And I think I did wash my face at night, but I think just putting sunscreen on over and over again, bug spray, I mean, you just get so dirty when you're camping. I just think my skin is kind of revolting right now against me for that experience. All right, guys, this feels lovely. Really, really lovely. I want to put just a little bit more on my forehead. I have some hyperpigmentation to cover up there as well. That was the tiniest amount, so I'm adding that tiny dot right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. That's how much I applied to kind of go all over my under eye area, around my nose, even kind of here on my cheeks and on my chin. So a little goes a long way with this. This time I'm just gonna actually take it on the back of directly on my sponge, and I'm just gonna start tapping it on to this constellation of hyperpigmentation. I feel like I should make a rhyme out of that. It's a constellation of hyperpigmentation. You probably can't see it because it's pretty faint when I have some foundation on, but if I'm in the right lighting with no makeup on, I've got quite the little like constellation going on up here. Pretty good coverage. I'd say solid medium. This reminds me of it actually reminded me a lot of the Kosas concealer with the coverage and kind of just how it is really hydrating. This feels really nice and hydrating, like really comfortable on the skin. It's not heavy or pasty at all, but coverage wise, I feel like I got decent coverage out of it as well. So let's just give this a little powder. Take my RCMA No Color powder. Just a tiny, just swirl my brush inside there. Make sure all those lines are blended out, and then set that forehead down a little. It is filling before I just applied this powder. It feels, I don't want to say greasy, but it feels very luminous on my eyelids. So I'm curious to see if this, now that it's powdered, will give me trouble on my eyelids with creasing. Let's move into my brows next. So I'm really curious about this brow pencil. I believe they only had 2 or 3 shades. This one is the shade Blonde. I'm always a little leery of blonde shades because sometimes they can be a little bit too warm or a little bit too yellow. I really like my pencils to be nice and ashy. So let me just give this a nice swatch on the back of my hand. Ooh, I like the stiffness of this. It's a little bit on the stiff side. It took me a while to build that up. So let me just show you guys kind of live. Takes some effort, which I actually like that. That's one of the reasons I'm really loving the Benefit pencil right now, because it's really nice and stiff, but like in a really good way. I'm hoping that's ashy enough for my liking. I don't feel like it's overly like red or yellow, but it looks very, very slightly warm. We'll see. I'm gonna put it in my brows. Sometimes you can't tell till you actually put it in your brows. Ooh, nice spoolie. It's kind of stiff. I guess I'd rather have something a little bit stiffer and sharper than have something too soft that doesn't really grab my brow hairs. I'm very finicky with spoolies, brow spoolies specifically. I like them a very certain way. This is supposed to be waterproof. Let me just read some of the claims. This waterproof precision pencil creates hair-like strokes to define and shape individual brow hairs with a natural matte finish that blends seamlessly. The spoolie brush tames any stray hairs for complete control. Okay, that went pretty well. Very happy with the color. Let's go with the cheeks. So I don't have a new bronzer to try out today. So let's just, ooh, what should we use? Let's just go old school. I know I put a little bit of powder already on, but let's just go with my Milk bronzer stick today. Just gonna add a little bit of this to my brush. Just tap this on. Okay, let's move into, let's add some highlighter next. Wet n Wild Precious Petals or Persona Dream Stick highlighter. Let's go with the Persona one. In fact, I'm gonna apply this after I apply the blush because this is quite kind of like tacky. So I actually don't like applying powders on top of this. Let's go with my blush first. So here is the shade Mellow Wine. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, either in its current or previous form. Let's see, what brush do I want to use? Let's go with my freshly washed Rephr brush. This is the number 5. I do love this brush. It does shed a little bit, but it is the perfect shape for blush. It just gives the most like perfect blush application. I'm just gonna start tapping that on. Oh boy, this is pretty pigmented. So pretty. It's a good one. Just a classic, like perfect color. It's pretty pigmented, but like perfect peachy pink that would go with just about anything. All right, now for the highlighter. So this one I just like applying with my finger. This gives me a really nice like dew on the top of my cheek. Ooh, look how pretty. You guys see that? So pretty. I feel like I underrate this highlighter. I don't reach for it as often as I should. It's really, really beautiful. All right, let's jump into these eyeshadow palettes. So I have this one right here, which is the teal. It's called the Dope palette. I think that's so cute. They're all 4-letter words, the names of different palettes, and they're imprinted on the little eyeshadows. It doesn't take much for me sometimes. So here is the Dope palette. Next we have the Buzz palette. So cute that the yellow tone palette is named the Buzz palette. I mean, that's just so adorable. So as I'm talking about these, I'm gonna insert some swatches for you guys. Haven't actually swatched these myself yet, but beautiful looking color story. Next we have the Bear palette. I felt like I needed to try out the most very like basic neutral one. I love the combination of like mattes and shimmers and light to dark in here. I just think it gives you like, if you have more medium to light fair skin, such a perfect little color story for a super basic palette. And then we have the Purr palette. This one's kind of like a taupey purple tone one. They also had a magenta or like pink. I think they had like a more magenta purple and then a bright pink one that I didn't pick up, but they looked really cute as well. Love this sparkle. It looks so sparkly and kind of glittery, multicolored glitters in here. Really pretty. So I'm just gonna go through some of these and just finger swatch them really quickly. Let's start with the Dope palette. This teal right here, so pretty. So I was thinking that maybe when I try these out for you guys, I would try out this palette. Unfortunately, I am going into town today. Doesn't match my outfit, and I just don't really want to be walking around all day with blue eyeshadow. But wow, look at that green, you guys. It's way more like Wizard of Oz green than the teal that it looks in the pan. It has this like strong emerald kind of shift to it. Beautiful. Love this light blue. Let's check out the Buzz palette. So this one has such a beautiful kind of like warm golden, it almost looks like a duochrome. Okay, it's really pretty, very sparkly. It does have like a very subtle duochrome effect to it. It's not super extreme, but it's definitely there. Really pretty kind of gold with almost a green shift. Very curious about this matte yellow. Okay, it's pretty pigmented. There it is right there. There's the matte brown. I was hoping that would be a little bit darker, but we'll have to wait and see how it performs on the eyes. I do want to go into this Bear palette. Let's go with my other hand and swatch the shimmer. It's a very faint, warm, bronzy gold. Almost has a bit of like a peachy pink shift to it. This is probably the best one that I've swatched so far. And let's swatch this matte dark brown because I'm just really curious to see how all these dark browns swatch. Some of these mattes feel almost a little bit creamy. Do you see how they have that tiny bit of a sheen to them? Okay, and last but not least, the Purr palette. I think this is the palette that I'm probably gonna reach for today. Let's give this shade right here, this really sparkly, oh wow, look at that. So there it is. Ooh, it's dark. Okay, darn it, I was hoping I could wear that all over my lid. Might be a little too dark to do that, but it is beautiful, very purple. And then let's swatch this first shade. A lighter, kind of more shell pink kind of shimmer. Okay, that's beautiful. That's a pretty combination. Last, I wanna swatch this dark purple right here just to see how dark it is. Again, we'll see how these build up. They might be great on the eyes. I mean, there's some Natasha Denona shadows that when I swatch, they're not nearly as impressive as they perform on my actual eyes, and vice versa. There's been some things that I've swatched that didn't perform very good on the eyes. I'll have to come back and let you guys know once I've tried the other palettes out how I feel about these, but let's go ahead and try this one out. I'm gonna zoom you guys in just a hair and we'll put this one to the test. All right, so let's jump in with this lightest shade, the U. I'm gonna take my Sydney Grace large blending brush, just really kind of pack that in there, build that up through my crease. Not wildly pigmented on first swatch, but let's see if we can build up another layer. With this first shade, I mean, I'm barely just finishing with this first shade. Not wildly impressed. We'll see. Let's move on to, actually, let's jump into the darkest shade next. I want to build up that depth first, and then we'll come back and add the shimmer on top. And let's apply this with the crease blending brush. This one's just a little bit smaller. I'm just gonna start tapping it right there along the lash line and then pulling it up into this outer corner. Okay, that's pretty pigmented. They're very muted purples. I'd say they're almost more kind of ashy purples. Not that that's a bad thing, but I almost find myself wishing they had a little bit more like purple pigment in them. But let's jump over to the shimmer. So I want to apply just the tiniest amount of this to the outer half of the lid. I feel like if I apply this too far in, it's really going to close off my eyes and make them a lot more smoky than I was initially wanting to go for today. Although, as I'm applying this, it has some silver sparkle in it that kind of adds a little bit of brightness to it, even though like the base of it is a little bit on the darker side. But I still only want to go about halfway in with this shade. Now I wipe that same finger off. We're going to go in with the lightest shimmer here, and we're going to overlap. Okay, that is pretty. Those shimmers are prettier than I gave them credit for when I was swatching them, so that's good. I actually was not uncertain. I'm feeling kind of so-so about how those mattes went on. Not that they're bad, I just wasn't sure I loved them, but these shimmers are kind of coming through for me right now, so that's good. Okay, so there are the finished eyes. Very cool toned. I mean, this is a very, very cool toned purple look with like just the tiniest bit of purple. I'd almost say it's more kind of charcoaly or taupe than purple. So if that's your thing, I mean, they're really pretty. But let me go ahead and finish off with the eye. So I'm gonna apply just a little bit of my Wet n Wild Simma Brown Now liner just to my waterline. Actually, let me just apply like the tiniest bit of like a wing. And then to my waterline. Now I'm gonna apply a couple coats of my Power Up Mascara, and I will be back and we'll finish off the lips. Eyes are finished. Very, very pretty. Let's move on to the lips. So actually, before we do that, I realized I never put brow gel in my eyebrows. I'm gonna take just a little bit of my clear brow gel from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Just run a little bit of this through my brows. Let's move on to the lips. So I have the Milani Shine lipstick. I think that's what they're called. Actually, no, Walgreens, that's not what they're called. They're called the Color Fetish Balm lipsticks. I got mine in the shade 130 Lingerie. I'm sure you guys have all heard about these or tried these before, but I'm just very curious about these myself. So there's the color in the bowl. It looks pretty bright. Hopefully these are a little on the sheer side. Oh gosh, that's way brighter than I like. And this was like one of the lightest shades. That's gonna be pretty bright for me for being one of the lightest shades that they had. Darn it, we'll give it a try anyways. I usually don't like these kind of colors on me. I don't know why. I just don't usually. Let's first add a little bit of lip liner. Let's do Whirl by MAC. It's just a classic go with anything kind of lip liner. I just want to overline the bottom, mostly just to cover up that weird spot that I have going on right there. I'm just so funny with my lip color. I either like my lips to be like really deliberately bold and vibrant and bright, like something almost neon red or kind of pink, or I like them to be nude. Like I don't like to try anything really in between. It's probably just more of like a kind of set in my ways kind of thing. But let's give it a try out of the bullet, even though I have a feeling it's gonna be darker than I like to go. I'm not even being like pressing that hard and see, I feel like that looks like a child did my makeup. I just don't look good in these kind of colors. I don't know what it is. Like I look at other YouTubers like Allie and Jessica Braun that wear these kind of colors and I feel like they look pretty in them. And then I put them on and I feel like they just look weird. They make me look bad. I don't know. Maybe if I had less eye makeup on. It is really comfortable. I don't like this color at all. I'm just gonna be honest. Darn it, I was kind of hoping these would be a little bit more kind of like nude and sheer, but they're not. At least not this shade, and this was the lightest one that they had at my Walmart at least. They might have more shades online. So let me just take a finger and kind of blend some of that out. And then we're gonna top it with something lighter. Let's add a little bit of creme brulee on top to kind of lighten that up just a little bit in the center. Okay, there we go. That's wearable. Like I could do that, but I'll be honest guys, I know I'm not gonna reach for this very often. If I have to really work to get a lip color to work for me. Like I have to apply multiple things or like sheer it out and then put something else on top. Generally speaking, that's not a product that I'll reach for very often. I like something I can just kind of swipe on when I'm not even looking and I know it's gonna look good. And this is probably not that product for me. Anyone that likes mid-tone pink kind of shades will probably like this. It's really nice and comfortable. It actually reminds me a lot of the Colory Shine lipsticks. I don't even know if they sell those anymore. With a gloss on top, not terrible. Not my favorite, but not terrible. So let's just go through really quickly everything that I tried out, first impressions so far, and then we'll do a check-in at the end of the day. Excited to see how this brow product wears. The eyeshadow came out really nicely. This specific palette, the Purr palette, is very cool toned, as you can see, very taupey, even more taupey or kind of ashy on the eyes than it looks in the pan, but I do think it's really pretty. The shimmers were the standouts in this one. I will let you guys know as I play with these other ones how they go. I'm especially excited to try these two right here. I'll try and give the teal one a try as well. I'm less excited about this one after swatching it. I just didn't feel like the shimmers or the mattes in this one seemed very intense, but we'll see. I'm gonna give them a shot. As for the concealer, we will definitely keep an eye on that. I feel like it worked really good. My skin looks really nice and hydrated. It covered everything I needed it to cover, and we'll see how it wears throughout the day. So I will be back in about, let's see, it's 10:15 right now. We're gonna wear this for about 8 or 9 hours. I'll check in with you guys about 7 o'clock tonight. We'll see how everything wore. All right, I'm back. It is 7:30 at night. I've had the makeup on for 9 hours with the exception of my lip color. I did reapply my lip stick, obviously. Here we are. I feel like I kind of look a fright, but let's just go through everything and see how it checks out. Let's start with the brows. My brows look pretty dang good, you guys. I mean, I can't necessarily test out the waterproof claim. I was outside a little bit today, maybe a little bit, not super sweaty, but it was 102 degrees today. I was in town on asphalt surfaces, walking around a mall with Charlie. We were school shopping today. Can you believe Charlie's going to school this year? So I did really put this one to the test. My skin did get a little bit kind of like a little sweaty. Eyeshadow actually held up really well with that concealer underneath. I was a little bit worried about that. I was worried, especially as I was feeling a little bit, you know, when like the side of your nose starts to sweat a little bit, like you can kind of feel like things are kind of maybe starting to melt just a little bit when it's really hot. I worried about my eyeshadow creasing, but it still looks really good. I'm gonna say this though, guys, I actually don't love this eyeshadow look. There's just something about that. As pretty as the sparkle is in that darker shade, I think this is a better palette for like a smoky kind of eye, which this look just, I don't know, more of a nighttime look, very gray in tone, even though the shimmers are really pretty. They performed really well. I'm just not sure I love this color story as much as I thought I would initially looking at the pan. That said, I'm excited to try the other ones out and see how they perform. I'm gonna try in the next couple of days to use some of these other ones and see how they work. Maybe if there's a standout, I'll let you guys know. Now let's get to the concealer. That's the thing I was probably most eager to wear test today. And I have to say, I don't know that, my skin doesn't look terrible. I do feel like some coverage has worn off, but looking under my eyes, I don't have any major settling. I have a little bit of concealer settling, very, very minor. I feel like there is still some coverage there, but as you can see, I have some redness here around my nose where I remember applying, I mean, not a lot of that concealer, but I did apply concealer there. Also like on the side of my eye where I have this, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have like a hyperpigmentation little patch right here. That I feel like is kind of starting to peek through. Also my forehead, the little constellation I have is kind of starting to peek through. My sunspot right here, which is never fully covered, is also kind of starting to peek through. I've got to be honest though, you guys, there's not many concealers after 8-9 hours of wear for me, or really foundations or any coverage products for that matter, that keep hyperpigmentation covered. I think that's the hardest thing to cover for some reason. Sunspots and melasma hyperpigmentation, they tend to like come through your concealer or foundation. Even the most full coverage ones, they just don't like stay covered for long. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that has an issue with that. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I have 2 sisters that also deal with melasma and they say the same thing. So I don't know that those little spots are the fault of the concealer. It was very comfortable throughout the day. I don't feel like I got very shiny. So far so good. Lip product. Let's just get back to this. I've got to be honest, guys. I'm not a fan of this. I did reapply a little bit of it right now. Again, I just did the same thing I did this morning. Took a little bit of the MAC lip liner and the creme brulee gloss on top, which I think kind of saved this lip color for me. For whatever reason, I just don't like these type of lip colors on me. When I went into the store and I saw that this was the lightest shade that they had, the name of it is lingerie, which I feel like kind of implies barely there. So I just assumed this would be much more subdued, but it is quite bold. I will say this, I have to give it to them. The package is like the exact same color, which doesn't happen very often. So maybe I should have been expecting that. If you do like berry toned shades, I love the formula of this. I think it's really nice. It's not long wearing at all. In fact, I think I only had this on for about 45 minutes. Granted, I only used a little bit, and you guys saw I kind of like thinned it out a little bit, put some stuff on top, but even after 45 minutes, I feel like it was pretty much worn off. But it was comfortable, really nice and shiny if you're into that type of a product. I just wish they had lighter shades. Maybe they do, and they just didn't at my drugstore. Quick comment on the blush. I don't know, is there a little bit of blush left? I mean, I wasn't really planning on like wear testing this. I feel like everybody's tried these. They've been around forever. Probably if I wanted this blush to last longer, I would put a tiny bit of a cream blush underneath it and then top it with this. Not the best, but not bad. And so far I do think the packaging is better than what they previously had. All right. That is it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. Hopefully it was helpful for you. I will try to be sure to come back. Try to be sure. Is that a contradiction? Yes. Let's commit, Mandy. I will come back and let you guys know about the rest of these palettes soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'll let you guys know how those go, how they work out, if there's one color story or one like series of formulas that outperforms another. I will also keep you posted on the concealer and the brow product, which I'm going to keep using. That's going to do it for today. Thank you guys again. I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye. Get out of here, Mandy. You look terrible. Go wash your face and go to bed. It's 7:30. It's past your bedtime. If I make it to 10 or 10:30, that's a rare occasion. I wake up, my alarm clock goes off at 4:57 in the morning every morning. I'm crazy, right? I am definitely a morning person. I always have been. I know it's weird. I love my morning routine. It's like kind of an obscure movie. It's called Pure Luck. It's got Martin Short and Danny Glover in it. I think that is the most hilarious movie ever. If you like kind of cheesy, like 80s, 90s comedy, big fan of Martin Short. I think he is like, he could just sit there and make a face and it's just hilarious. I just think he's so funny.